I've owned over 30 high-end Hulk statues. This may be the best one ever, but I'm so glad I don't own this one. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully my turntable survives. It's rated for 200 pounds, and this is damn near close. So today we are looking at the 1/3 scale XM and LBS Studios statue. I'm almost without words. Michael Scott would be so happy looking at this statue. So anyway, Legendary Beast Studios and XM Studios have done a collaboration for an entire line of 1/3 scale Marvel characters. And if you're a follower of the channel, you know that this is actually the 4th one they've released, and the 4th one I've been able to review. It all started back with this Captain America right here. Now, I never owned this. A fellow collector that you guys know well named Jerry let me borrow it for a review. And then Spec Fiction actually did a giveaway with the next character, this Thor statue right here. And then I briefly owned this giant Magneto statue. Other ones they have in the work include this Iron Man. Again, they're all 1/3 scale. This Thanos, and I love all of these to be honest. And this Venom right here. Now these 1/3 scale statues have a lot going on. Not only their tremendous size, as you can see, but they have some really cool bases that are conceptual and tell a story. We're going to look at all of that during the review today. And as you can see, I actually had to stand just to get everything in frame. And I'm a tall guy. Most people don't know that. I'm actually 6'3". But anyway, I don't own this one either. It is also courtesy of 2 people. First, Spec Fiction. We're going to talk more about them later. But also, Joe. So Joe is a fantastic collector, and I met him years ago at a Comic-Con. We've always stayed in touch, and he was getting it from Spec Fiction. And where I live is actually halfway in between Spec Fiction and him. So he offered, he's like, hey, do you want to review the XM LBS Hulk? And I said, absolutely. So huge thank you to Joe. Thank you so much. Very cool collector. Has an awesome collection of not only comic statues, but some other cool stuff as well. So thanks for the opportunity. So we're going to do the review today, and then I'm going to box them back up, and that is a bitch. I will tell you that right now. We're going to review all that. And just so I can get it out of my system, I've been holding back the whole time, but this thing is so big.
Come again? That's what she said.
All right, now as we dive in, there's a lot going on with this statue, as I said. Not only some of the stuff I alluded to, like the elaborate base and the size, but there were so many different options for the statue. So this is actually the enraged green Hulk option. We'll talk more about that when we actually get into the value and cost. But for now, I want to focus on the concept. And what really makes the concept of these statues is the base. So we're going to do this a little bit different. Here are some close-up shots of the base. On the front, I think it's absolutely amazing. They did like the evolution of man, but they did the evolution of Hulk. You see the original like Kirby on the far left going all the way to Maestro. You know, the Hulk from another universe that actually turned evil, and all the in-between stages. I think that is so cool. But to make it even more amazing, if you look at the side here, you see Bruce Banner and the original Gamma explosion that actually turned him into Hulk. So it's kind of the origination of Hulk himself. The other side, equally as cool, you see the transformation of Bruce Banner. So not the explosion that's happening, but the transformation. But probably my favorite part is on the back, you see the classic Hulk enemies. You see everyone here from Juggernaut to Abomination, and I think that is absolutely cool. Such a cool Easter egg. The only disadvantage is it's on the back. So the rest of the base, as you can see, is almost like what I feel like where his Gamma containment equipment was, some type of chamber or factory or science research lab. That's where you see the metallic stuff. And then on top, you almost feel like he's out in the field where that gamma radiation explosion happened, because you see some of the yellow, usually associated with caution, and then kind of this desert floor with this green ooze coming up that you'll see when we do close-up video. And he is standing there in a very hunched over pose. I hunch as well, so I totally get what he's doing. It's very comic-like, but they almost added this twist that really reminds me of the MCU and the Avengers 1 Mark Ruffalo Hulk. And I know it's not based on that, but I definitely see that in there, especially in this particular portrait. And I don't know if I like that or not. You know, one thing I love about XM Studios and even LBS is they usually do comic-based characters, but they do kind of this modern twist or flair on it, kind of this sense of realism. And I definitely feel that here. But for Hulk, I really like comic-based statues of Hulk personally. If you remember, my last Hulk statue I got in was actually this giant custom, which, believe it or not, cost twice as much as this big one for a lot of reasons. Make sure to go and check out that video. And a few days after I'm filming this, I actually do have a film version of Hulk coming in. It's the Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby Hulk from the Hulk series back in the 70s. So make sure you've not only liked this video, but you sub to the channel and hit that bell notification so you don't miss that one. So really quick, let's give him a rating. I think the base puts it over the edge. The base is what makes the concept of the statue. Otherwise, it's just a normal Hulk standing there, although it's well done. So because of the base, that's 5 out of 5. That is so incredibly cool. Now we're going to talk about the design, and it's not without its issues for sure. But before we dive into the unboxing and assembly, if you're newer to the channel, just so you know, I'm a huge Hulk fan. One of my top 5 favorite comic characters. Check out this old Hulk countdown I did when I owned about 30 different Hulk statues. But since then, I've whittled down to my collection. I currently have about 6 with about 3 or 4 more coming in. And of course, this one I have to ship back off to Joe. So you check out that YouTube video or just search Hulk on the Extreme channel or check out the social media. I post exclusive stuff on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The link for that is in the description below. God, I feel like a whore. Here's the unboxing and assembly. One box was 80 pounds, the other one was 90. That is unbelievably big. Had a little bit of an art box. It was beat up pretty bad, which most heavy boxes are. It did come with a nice book kind of about the statue itself. Always nice they include that. Your standard packaging with XM Studios right here. Now it's 2 boxes. Each box had 2 layers, but I forgot to take the bottom layer picture both times. So you missed out on a picture of his feet, if that's your thing, and the actual base. So one of the problems with this statue is just it is so incredibly large. Now with that, it is scaled correctly. So it's 1/3 scale, and for you math majors, that's bigger than 1/4 scale. But let's get some dimensions. So believe it or not, he's about 25 inches wide and 16 inches deep. Now all that I can deal with. However, he is about 39 inches tall. For exact dimensions, check out Spec Fiction's website. There's a link for that in the description below. So thankfully, he is hunched over a little bit, which reduces some of that height space that we're going to have issues with. But because they did that elaborate base, I mean, that added an additional 8 or 9 inches. So such an incredibly tall statue, just like that Magneto, which didn't have this kind of conceptual storyline base, but had a very large one as well. So it makes it almost prohibitive to actually display, not to mention the weight of it. I'm scared to death this table will fall over, but part of me kind of hopes it will, because that will be a viral moment. Would suck for you, Joe. As you'll see here, I actually have my normal bright spotlights, but because how tall this is, it's appearing very dark in this video. So even just to do a review, let alone display it, that's an issue because of how big it is. Now regarding display options, this is it. Like I said, there's a few variations you could have bought where they actually switch out the torsos or a different variant color, which we'll talk about later. But what you see is what you get, but that's all you really need. I think you have the enraged Hulk right here. The design is incredibly cool. Now one other disadvantage it has, the coolest part is the storyline here in the bottom of the base. The back of it you can't even see unless you put this in the middle of a room, which would be kind of weird. You're never going to get to see that awesome stuff, although I'm glad they did it. So overall design, I think it's ambitious. So I think it's a 4 out of 5. Definitely has some disadvantages, but you have to know if you're going to buy a 1/3 scale Hulk, size is definitely going to be an issue. XM Studios and LBS, they've been doing the paint and sculpt on these, and it's been phenomenal, and this is no exception. So here's some close-up video and my thoughts on the paint and sculpt. We're going to start with the base. Now, while I'm not going to turn it around for each one, because we're more focusing on the paint and sculpt, I really like this bronze feeling effect. It almost feels like something you find in a temple. And the highlights on it, there's some green in there, and then kind of that gold, bronzy, metallic feeling. I think it works really well, and it contrasts with the mechanical parts all around it, the silver and copper here. Looks really good. Like I said, you almost feel like there's some venting. I left those cushions in for Joe because I'm shipping it back to him. There's some foam in there just for breakage purposes. I didn't need to take them out. But lots of detail in this. And that's, you know, like I said, this isn't the focal point, although in my opinion, it's what makes the statue. But they did a phenomenal job on the upper part of the base as well. So first, a few details, like look at this bent. It's bent right here from his foot. I love that. They also did it with the sand. So this sand effect right here really makes you think of like, you know, New Mexico or the atomic bomb testing. I like that. And then the way they added the gamma radiation, it's like a almost a resin that they poured in there. And I like the really high contrast of green. I think it plays really well against Hulk. But what I'm really impressed with is the shading on Hulk's body, and even starting in the toes here. And then they even added like a little bit of a sand effect on his toes. I like that. But you're going to see the veins and muscles throughout, but look at the way the shading is done. And this is pretty impressive considering this is mass produced and each of them are hand painted. So I think that's a lot of props to them. You see a little bit of white here. This is just from the styrofoam. But amazing job with the anatomy. I really liked it. The veins, it's over protruding a little bit right there, but I think enough that I can actually forgive. I think that's kind of the proper amount. Giant hands. I mean, look how big his foot is. I have a decently large hand. Really amazing. This is incredibly hard to turn too, but I love the anatomy. I love the shading. I love the veins. And the pants look awesome too. I'm not the biggest fan of the torn shirt being sculpted coming out like that, but I'd rather that than a mixed media or fabric shirt. And then also I think it's needed too because it's like what happened to it. But the pants look awesome. You can see all the detail in the stitching. You can see where the pants are pulling apart with the tears. This deep purple color is fantastic. You can see the threads in between. You can hear my turntable having trouble turning. So really good job on Hulk himself. And then we come to this portrait. So I love that they did the green eyes on this one, enraged. The hair looks fantastic. The colorful streaks of green, and it's a different color green than his skin. They could have gone a little bit lighter on that, I think. Great job on the teeth. I like the moist effect that they added on the tongue and the teeth. He has these black purplish gums. You can see the back of his throat, which I think they should have made that a little bit darker. I mean, granted, I'm shining a light in there. You can see the rage in his face. I like how they did the expression to really show that. And he's lurching forward. Very smart. The veins in his neck just popping from the enraged Hulk screaming. So absolutely amazing paint and sculpt. A few things could have been tweaked, but this is pretty damn good. We're going to start with the sculpt. Like I said, while I kind of disagree with the direction it's to Mark Ruffalo, Avengers 1 for me, it's done so good. It's definitely a 5 out of 5. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but I think it's exceptional. And I have to say the paint is the same. Like I said, I kind of love that green slime effect. And the shading on his skin is just second to none. That's also a 5 out of 5 for me. Really well done, XM and LBS. Now we got to talk about, is this guy worth it? So first of all, we got to talk about all the different options. So we have the one right here. It's an enraged Hulk. It essentially comes with this torso. I would say portrait, but it is a portrait, and they're all different torsos if you want to switch them out, simply for the fact they didn't want a seam line in the neck, which was really smart. But some other options were what they kind of call this modern Hulk right here. I'm not a fan of this. This is my least favorite. Then you have a Kirby Hulk. And then you have a Kirby Hulk in the gray variant. So the first few issues of the Hulk, he was actually gray due to the printing. Eventually he became green very shortly after. Now, with that being said, you had a number of different options to buy them. And again, make sure to check out Spec Fiction. There's a link in the description below where to buy statues, and use the code EXTREME20. You actually get some money off. But you could buy the enraged one just like this. This is all you get. You could buy that classic one just like this, and then you could buy the Kirby one just like this, all in the green. Or you could buy the Premium Deluxe. So that had the switch out torsos. You'd essentially have 3 torsos and decide which one to put on here, and then torso display stands. Now, cost on these. Regular retail cost was 3,000 Singapore dollars if you wanted just kind of this type of setup. Singapore dollar trades anywhere from 80 to 75% on the US dollar. So that's like $2,200, $2,300-ish plus shipping, which as you can imagine is a lot for a statue this big. If you wanted the deluxe, all of those together, again, not the gray variant, but for this variant right here, it was like 4,300 Singapore dollars. So you're over $3,000 plus shipping, which is probably another 500 to 1,000 to be honest. So it is a lot of money for this statue without a doubt. They made pretty low edition sizes though. I don't have the exact number of each one. This one they made 200 of, so I'm guessing it's similar for the other ones as well, because they do this made-to-order thing. And in fairness, to my knowledge, this is the only 1/3 scale Hulk available. There are countless 1/4 scale ones. So if you're doing that Marvel line with the 1/3 scale that they're doing here, and then also some other companies are now dabbling in that, like PCS, you almost have to have this because I doubt it will be beat by another statue. But still, I'm at the point where I'm looking at one statue and, $3,000 or $4,000. That's a tough pill to swallow. And again, you can find certain outlets like Spec Fiction where with shipping, it's somewhere in that $2,000 to $3,000 range. But I think the value is a 3 out of 5. I think if you wanted to, because it's done so well and he's such a loved character, and there are some people collecting that amazing 1/3 scale line, I think you could sell it and get your money back if you paid retail. I don't think it's something that you could flip down the road because nowadays, it's just a different game in statue collecting than it was 3 or 4 years ago where you could sell $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 statues. So does this have the X factor? X factor is this awesome? Throw away everything we talked about. Do you walk up to this and you say, this is incredibly badass, this is one of the coolest statues? I think this does have the X factor. It's an overall 5 out of 5 for me. Very cool. I'm glad I got to see it in person. And due to space constraints, I'm so glad I didn't go all in this line. I've been able to see all 4 of these. They're all phenomenal. I would probably rank the Magneto a little bit better than this one, but this is probably my second favorite for sure. Does this top the best Hulk statue ever? Throw that down in the comments below. I love to read your guys' opinion and interact with you, but more importantly, you can win a statue with that comment. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, please check out Spec Fiction in the link below. Huge thank you to them, but a bigger thank you to Joe. I appreciate it so much, my man. And he's coming your way. Good luck when you get him. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.